Oh no.
There
And
we go.
I'll mention it in the show, but a friend of mine was also on a podcast talking about Assault on a Queen.
Oh,
So I
awesome.
listened to it, although his was not really a formal podcast like what we're doing. His is more like a couple of guys doing a YouTube live stream, and so there's always the pauses, the gaps in there, like, oh wait, I'm looking for the slide. Wait, is that the picture? Wait,
Mm.
it is very hard for me to listen to stuff like that, so I usually put it on 2x speed, just so I
I
can
heard
get
me
through it.
doing that on a podcast a few days ago where I was doing the horrible vamping. Because I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, I
right.
don't have the information in front of me because, sometimes it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we're talking about this now. That was unexpected, and now it seems like the most important thing ever. Um,
Dude, there's so many times that I mean, you've heard our unedited shows. So many times that we'll brain fart on like a title or something, and we'll go like, "All right, Earl, cut this. We're gonna go look for the thing. We'll come back."
No, I have a very lazy editing strategy of if something comes up, I will be like, okay, don't talk for 10 seconds. I'm going to cite that on
Yeah,
the sound recording later,
right,
because I
right.
don't want to listen to the whole thing to
Exactly,
edit it. Um,
exactly.
Speaking of which, I guess we will blop on into this one. I
Yeah,
have quite a lot of trivia for this one.
excellent. Great, great.
And you know what? I didn't write about the freaking Queen Mary, so I assumed you might cover that. It's all
Yeah,
about the
I'm pretty
actors.
much I pretty much got you covered on Queen Mary, and I went through on my own and also from my friend's YouTube appearance and made note of details that they got right or wrong with the set of the Queen Mary, and most of it they got incredibly right. So yeah,
Good for them. Okay,
yeah,
give it
yeah.
speaking of those gaps, give it 5 seconds. I will start this show. Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast. We made our way through the Twilight Zone. We're now making our way through movies that Rod Serling scripted in the 50s and 60s, a little bit of the 70s. This is Matt here. Over there, permission log. It's John Champion, Queen Mary fan for Assault on the Queen.
Yeah, you found so many of my converging interests. You got Rod Serling, Twilight Zone. You got some cool Duke Ellington jazz. You got Frank Sinatra. You have Gorgeous Blonde. You have submarines, and then you have the Queen Mary. So vintage ocean liners is absolutely right up my alley. You called the right guy.
Yeah, because I came in kind of as the movie starts, I'm like, is this like kind of a low rent Mission Impossible? I'm like, but Frank Sinatra's the star. The Queen Mary's here. The soundtrack is better than Mission Impossible. I mean, theme
Yeah,
song
well,
notwithstanding, but
yeah, of
you
course, of course. Is it low rent Mission Impossible or high rent Ocean's 11?
that also that's in my notes as well. So
Yeah, okay, all right,
I
all
will
right.
come straight out and say I do like this movie better than the original Ocean's 11, and they should have
Yeah,
called the Rat Pack in for this one.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. That
Errol
would have made
John
it
is
even better.
Link Langley, very good, no problem. But hey, could have been Sammy.
Yeah, right.
Dean Martin could not have been the German captain. So but he could. Oh, Dean Martin
No,
could have
no.
been the Rossiter Vic. He could have been yeah, Vic
Yeah,
easily. So
but then you can't kill off a Dean Martin. You just
okay, yeah, you would be killing
yeah,
off Dean
yeah,
Martin
yeah.
in
You
that
can't
case.
do
So
that.
that
Yeah,
might be a
yeah.
bit of a
That
thing.
is contractually not an option.
You don't kill off the buds at the pack. Yeah.
No, no.
um, Well, I was saying to you, I do have a fair amount of trivia on this where I don't even mention the Queen Mary, so I guess I should get that out of the way.
Excellent. Let's do it. Here we go. Trivia. Assault on a Queen.
Yeah. The film premiered on June 15th, 1966. Jack Donahue directed. He also helmed a very strange Babes in Toyland, if you've seen that one, and
Oh
directed the
yeah.
Rat Pack on TV with the Frank Sinatra show and the Dean Martin show. So there is some Rat Pack blood here, just not, fully in
Nice.
this movie. Like,
Okay.
and not a Rat Packer. He also did the Red Skelton show, which, a comedian which very confused me as a child because is he a red skeleton? What's
Right.
going on? Like it
Yeah. Yeah.
really, like even
Yeah.
typing the notes last night, I was like, oh, erase, type it correctly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Been there.
Who wrote this? Rod Serling, of course. He did base it off of a story of the same name by Jack Finney. Finney also wrote the story The Body Snatchers, which would get adapted multiple times. Cue that Donald Sutherland meme pointing at
Yeah,
you,
right. Right.
I I need to do some body snatches. I haven't properly body snatched, you know? I haven't
Man,
had a
I love the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Kevin McCarthy. I mean, it's so good. Yeah,
it's
the
one of those
remake's great
things.
too.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things that's just which one to watch, you know? Because the remake
Hmm.
in that case is good. It's like King Kong. It's always easy. Am I going to watch just the 1976 King Kong? No, I'm going to watch the 33 one, you know?
Right.
Maybe the
Right.
Peter Jackson one. But yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing
Yeah.
particularly wrong with the 76 one. It's not a great movie, but it's
Yeah.
watchable and it has a cool
Yeah.
big monkey in it. But I'm just,
Yeah.
not traveling in that direction usually.
Exactly.
Frank Sinatra played Mark Breton. I don't know.
Or sometimes Britain, sometimes Breton.
Yeah, I came out a little
Yeah.
confused there. He also appeared in films like From Here to Eternity, The Man with the Heroin Arm, and Ocean's 11. Not a typo. Fun fact, he had a side career as a singer, putting out albums like In the Wee Small Hours, Come Fly With Me, and songs for singing lovers. I just mentioned those because those are the ones I listen to the most. I'm very much 50s frothy Capitol era Sinatra if I want to hear some Sinatra.
I think that's peak Sinatra. I think that's the best Sinatra. Yeah.
Because the
Agreed.
40s stuff's a little too maudlin sometimes because he's way in the ballads, right? Which,
Yeah.
yeah, you could do, but in the 60s, he's starting to get that, a little too much heaviness in there. So it's like that.
Yeah.
1955 is a sweet spot for Sinatra. I mean, for acting,
Agreed.
I think this is right where we need to
Oh,
be. This is screen
yeah, yeah,
Sinatra
yeah.
is great, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Verna Lacey was Rosa Lucchesi. I don't know if I got that right. An obvious Italian import, she also appeared in conflicting Hollywood production titles such as How to Murder Your Wife and Not With My Wife You Don't. Those are two different movies. I guess she's the ingenue for wife guys. I don't know.
I guess so.
Vic Rostier was played by Tony Franciosa. His golden ticket was for his role as a drug addict in A Hatful of Rain, for which he earned an Oscar nom. Frank too. Oscar noms for playing drug addicts. A little bit of a pattern going there. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Alf Jello was Eric Laufnauer, actually a Swedish import, not German. He mostly did TV, and he did show up on Mission Impossible in 1966, sharing screen time with Barbara
Oh,
which somehow
nice.
does seem
Yeah.
fitting. So.
Yeah.
Um,
Perfect.
Earl John was played by Link Langley. His screen credits are pretty sparse, but this Trinidad and Tobago native was a serious stage play actor and was also known as a playwright with titles like The Tout
Yeah.
and Moon on a Rainbow Shawl. I don't know what Moon on
That's
a Rainbow
cool.
Shawl is, but it's a cool title.
Yeah, love it.
Your captain today was played by Murray Matheson. Notable for our podcast vantage point, he was the clown in the Twilight Zone's Five Characters in Search of an Exit, and Mr. Agee in the Kick the Can segment of Twilight Zone, the movie. That's Spielberg's disappointing segment, not the Landis one that still eats at the soul of Hollywood.
All
He also
right.
appeared in
Yeah.
1955's Love is a Many Splendored Thing. I'm just bringing that up because when I was a child and I tried to wake up my father like too early in the morning, he'd start singing "Bed is a Many Splendored Place" because he didn't want to get out of it. So I feel
Nice.
like "Love is a Many Splendored Thing" is like the wrong title. I'm like, no, Bed is a Many
Yeah.
Splendored Place. And I'm getting old. I wake up early in the morning. Yeah,
Oh, I
earlier.
wish I could.
It's a Japanese family though. Like I am the late
Yeah.
getter upper, and the latest I get up
Yeah.
is like 7:15 in the morning.
Oh
People are up at like
God.
5 in the morning, and yeah,
No. Yeah, no, I
doing
couldn't do it.
laundry, cooking an insane Japanese breakfast, which I just have a cup of coffee, but I do wash the dishes as a
Wow.
a little
But
disappointing when you drink coffee and then you spend 20 minutes doing the dishes. But hey, job, gotta have a role in the house.
you're helping out. That was good.
Um, have you seen this one before?
I have, and I have to admit that I bought it without knowing anything about it, just because, well, it stands to reason. Pretty much, if something has a vintage ocean liner in it, then I will buy that movie. I will want to watch that movie. And there's one that the name escapes me, but like Fred McMurray is in a Disney movie, go figure, where his family spends a lot of time on the SS United States and they actually shot a lot on the SS United States. So, not a great movie, not a super memorable movie, hence why I don't know the title. But I wanted that one, and one that I definitely will recommend is The Last Voyage, which came out around this time, like early mid '60s, I think. And it was shot on the actual ocean liner, the Ile de France, after she had been retired. And then they blew the hell out of that ocean liner because they knew that it was on its way to being scrapped. So they did this disaster movie, but on an actual ocean liner that they were actually blowing up in order to make their movie.
Yeah, sometimes
So
there's a great way to save money. Like I recently covered that Planet of the Apes TV show, live action one, where it's like, oh, they're
yeah,
they're tearing down these sets. Why don't we just go film there for a bit so it looks post-apocalyptic?
exactly. We'll just do that. Yeah, yeah. So in that sense, I heard about this. I saw the cover art, which I love. Frank Sinatra, hard to go wrong there. So I bought it. And then I enjoyed the movie, but I was very disappointed that there was so little of the Queen Mary. And when I say so little of the Queen, I don't just mean that in the story there is very little of the Queen Mary. I mean that in the movie there is very little of the Queen Mary because we only have exteriors. That's it. And even then, they're the widest of the wide angle shots. That's what we get of the actual Queen Mary. However, um, jumping ahead, spoiler, I do enjoy this movie. I don't think, look, it's not at the time and in the future, it will not win any awards, but that's okay. It's fun. You're there to see Frank Sinatra do cool Frank Sinatra things and see a submarine. So if you're there for that, great. But they did do an admirable job recreating pieces of the Queen Mary for the set pieces here. So just to give you a little additional trivia, so Queen Mary, maiden voyage 1936. They started laying down the keel in 1930, but then there was an economic depression, so they restarted construction in like 33 or 34. Maiden voyage 1936. Then spent a lot of time World War II being a troop ship. To date, nobody can touch the number of people who were transported in one crossing. It was like 16,000 people on a ship built for about 2,300 passengers, right? Nobody can touch that record. Queen Mary was retired in late 67. So this movie comes out just over a year before what would be the last great cruise, which started at the end of October and lasted until the first week of December when she ported here in Long Beach, and that was the end. So that's a good run, a 31-year run for an ocean liner built at that time. That is a great run, and it's. I think a lot of people know it now because it is, it is a relic. It is a museum piece, still architecturally stunning. But at the time, I think what most people lose sight of, other than the war history, which is incredible, it is the ship that saved British shipbuilding. So it wasn't just that it was a ship of state. It wasn't just that it was the biggest, fastest, et cetera, at the time. It's that it economically represented Britain bouncing back. And then when you get into the war history, it started shortly thereafter. Winston Churchill, he was the one who said that if not for the running mates, Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, the war would have lasted potentially 2 or 3 years longer. But these two ships gave them the advantage. So it's appropriate that Queen Mary, at least, I mean, hopefully Queen Elizabeth could have been saved too, but she wasn't. She burned. But it's appropriate that we have one of those as a representative of that era of travel.
Yeah, the especially the ocean liner, but yeah, I know you have
Mm-hmm.
a fair amount of cruise ship under your belt. My shipping is
Yeah.
mostly on like little sailing things. Like I worked at the whale camp for a while, and we'd get on a schooner and look for whales, which is a very different
Oh, yeah.
experience. And
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and just to clarify here, so it's interesting, Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mary were built as ocean liners, and they were not built as cruise ships. However, later in their lives, as the transatlantic trade kind of died down, they would use these ships for cruises. And they were popular to the extent that people wanted to go on a cool old ship or they wanted to go to a new destination, but they weren't built for it. they don't have balconies. They didn't have air conditioning. Not
Ooh,
really. They did
I
have
guess once you're at
airflow.
sea.
Yeah, yeah. Because they're built for the Atlantic. They're not built to go to the Caribbean or whatever. But for this movie, they did actually arrange with Cunard and say, okay, we know that the Queen Mary is taking a trip from New York down into the Caribbean, so we'll be able to shoot those exteriors for that because there was a cruise built into the normal schedule. And then Cunard said, great, we'll help, but we can't disrupt passenger activity or passenger comfort. Therefore, no filming on board. So that's what happened.
Yeah, you had to pull the scam that these guys did in the movie, right?
Yeah, they could have just done it anyway,
Some
right? Right.
guerrilla filming, yeah.
I know, I know. But so we lost Queen Elizabeth in a fire. Queen Mary was the last ocean liner, the last true ocean liner. QE2, kind of a hybrid ocean liner and cruise ship, and now is a hotel in Dubai. But the last true ocean liner that is actually working is Queen Mary 2. So appropriately, you'd have Queen Mary 2 as the last purpose-built transatlantic trade ship.
Yeah, I guess in my head, the Queen Mary is kind of the demarcation. Like, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the Queen Mary is a bit, cruise ship that not cruise ship, excuse me, ocean liner that
Yeah,
kind of becomes a cruise ship. I mean,
yeah,
small, maybe classier than the real ones, right? But obviously smaller
yeah.
scale than the stuff they're sending out in the seas now. Those things are insane.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a little, yeah, yeah. The scale is off. I mean, Queen Mary is like 84,000 tons. That's a big ship, and it's 1,000 feet long, which most behemoth giant ships now that carry like 6,000 passengers or whatever, they're not more than 1,000 feet long usually. Some of them are, but they're very top heavy, and you try to fit as many passengers on board as you can, and get them all to buy the drink packages. Queen Mary was from an era where it was not about that. It was about the competition of getting people from Europe to the United States and back, and doing it in luxury and doing it with speed. So if you're a true ocean liner, really thick, heavy hulls, and Queen Mary was built with the brute force approach to crossing the Atlantic. So Normandy came a year or two before, and Normandy was gorgeous, amazing, super technologically advanced, diesel electric, unheard of in 1935. Queen Mary comes along and we're like, yeah, we could do that, but we're just going to put in incredibly powerful engines. And then had the record for like 15, 16 years for the fastest Atlantic crossing. So, yeah, for all these many reasons that I could bore you and your audience with, that's what made Queen Mary worth saving. Like it was just a revolutionary ship at the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this one does, like you alluded to, gives you the bait and switch of nope, it's submarine movie, folks. Which
Yeah.
that's not disappointing for me. I love what
No.
Operation Petticoat, Run Silent, Run Deep. I am sitting
Dust
there
boat.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
like I am sitting here thinking like, how can five people actually run this thing? But
Hmm.
Star Trek 3, same
Not only do they
problem.
run it, they clean it up really nicely. you
Oh
know?
man, I got stressed out
Yeah.
when they were like ripping barnacles off, I was like, ooh,
Ah,
that doesn't look like a job I want to do.
they're just like hammering away. They got the hammer and the chisel, and just like I'm like, you only like got 5 people, and you're gonna clean it. Granted, it's a small submarine, but still, it's a lot of submarine.
And
Yeah.
the plan's not that good.
No, the plan is just we show up, and then yeah, and then they'll stop, and then we fire a torpedo to scare them. But okay, you got 5 people, three of whom are actually on board, and then on the Queen Mary, you've got about 1,200 crew members and about 2,000 passengers at any given time. So, and your only way to get back to your U-boat is in this dinghy, or in their case, in the lifeboat that they take from the Queen Mary. Like those are not good odds.
It's gotta be cool like Frank. And also once the heist goes into motion, I was surprised how quickly it's like, yeah, we're robbing you. I thought we
Yeah.
were gonna get a few more scenes of like feigned, like cordiality or something. It's like, nah, let's get straight into this.
Well, you knew that Vic was going to screw it up as soon as they made a point earlier in the movie of saying, now you have to say lieutenant, not lieutenant. Like you knew that was going to ruin it because yeah, yeah, you don't slow down your movie to point out something like that unless it's going to come back to bite you in the end. Although clever, I like him playing off the whole Canadian thing.
Yeah. At the same
Yeah.
time, I don't know. Is how much of a tell is that? People mush mouth things all the time. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
That'll
don't
be
know.
my excuse from now on. I'm Canadian. It's my Canadian accent.
It's all
Yeah.
about it's all about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, the movie starts. I'm just seeing like insane numbers of notable names. Edith Head doing the costumes here.
Yeah. Oh.
Ellington with the music. Van Cleve too, but I'm still pissed at Van Cleve for a few Twilight Zone scores, so I don't want to give him too much credit.
The thing that I love about Duke Ellington doing the music for this is that the music is always like inappropriately good. So it's just a cool jazz score. And there's all these moments that should be like building tension or setting the mood. And now it's just like, think about the first scene where Mark, Frank Sinatra's character, is down in the dive suit and he spots the submarine. And that's a relatively long sequence of stuff on the sea floor where he's walking around looking. But the music is just very like peppy, hot jazz. It's very cool. And up on the boat, they're getting very nervous because they think he's going to die like the other diver they sent down. But no, it's just very cool, just having fun. And then they missed an opportunity because later in the movie we have this montage of them repairing the submarine, getting it ready to take out. No music. And I'm like, that's where you put the music. That's where you put the peppy, upbeat jazz because they're all working together. They're all getting stuff done. They're, hooking up those batteries. And they're cleaning the corrosion off the off the diodes. This is what you do.
But it does make it. It's like, hey, time to make another martini. We're hanging with Frank. Um,
Yeah.
Weirdly, one of the biggest movies I have with soundtrack dissonance is what I consider to
Mhm.
be a very good movie, and I'm curious how you feel about this. I feel like the music in GoldenEye, James Bond GoldenEye, often doesn't match the scene.
Yeah. Right.
It's a
Yeah.
great movie, but the music is weirdly dissonant for a lot of that movie.
Yeah. I feel like they were trying too hard with the soundtrack.
That
Yeah.
might have been it. Here though, it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, we're swinging. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just having fun. Even if it's dangerous, we're just having fun. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it does take you a little bit because yeah, like that underwater footage. I'm definitely sitting there thinking, oh, how they filmed this. I mean,
Yeah.
I am out of the movie and I'm thinking about how they made the movie at that point. So how much of
Yeah.
this did they actually get water for? How much of it is not actually underwater, but they're just trying to make
Yeah.
it look like it?
And there's
That
a good mix. Like you can tell, okay, there's underwater photography, and you can tell there's definitely studio stuff with Frank Sinatra not underwater. And you can tell there's stuff shot in the tank. They shot out the tank at Fox Studios here. And then you can tell that there are things that are models versus seemingly, a full size U-boat that they've got out on the water. And then every now and then they play with it and they'll do like a composite shot where you go like, okay, well that is the Queen Mary, and yeah, that is the U-boat, but they're not there on the same day. you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah. And then when it's under, that certainly doesn't count. So,
Yeah.
no,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm a big fan of fake underwater because Disney
Mhm.
Sea's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea does not involve water at all. That's why it is still open because the other, I guess you could still have Submarine Voyage, but Nemo or something
Yeah.
now. But yeah, one of the reasons 20,000 Leagues closed in Florida is just like this thing is like way too much maintenance.
Yeah, right. Right,
So
exactly.
in Tokyo they just put bubbles through your window and it's like a little fuzzy looking. You're actually just going through dry rooms that are made to look like the bottom of the ocean.
Now we still have the submarine ride out here in Disneyland in California, and most people hate it. I love to ride that just because of like the audacity in 1959 of saying we're going to build a dark ride and then we're going to flood it. And that will be the experience of the ride. And it's great. And I loved the 20,000 Leagues ride in Florida, but yeah, it's a lot to maintain and it takes up a lot of space. So I get it. By the way, speaking of inappropriately upbeat music and kind of the playing fast and loose with what's underwater, what's not, what's realistic, what's not. All right. So they find the sub, and Mark goes back. He's the diver, right? So they're going to go back, and he's going to try to release the ballast in this 20 years sunk submarine. And all he has to do is open the hatch, go on board, and go find the release valve for the ballast, right? There is nothing more terrifying to me than the idea of being alone, going into a dark submarine, closing the hatch behind you, and then just like finding the switch and hoping that it works. Because they make a point of telling you that if it doesn't work, he's stuck. He's not going to be able to open that hatch again. And yet he gets in there and somehow it's fully lit. That it's just fully huge rooms. So definitely a studio, not an actual sub. And, they guessed right that it was still dry in the main compartment. So at the time, the captain who scuttled it, they just, he filled the ballast tanks and then just sunk that way. But man, that is an absolutely terrifying idea to me. But you just put in some light jazz and everything's going to be okay.
I was about to say that they're still weaponizing it in 2025 with the most recent Mission Impossible, which has the extended submarine sequence with, I think, no music, if I remember. I've
Oh,
only seen the
yeah.
movie once,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
certainly still affecting people in those ways. Still gives you
Yeah.
some tension on screen. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
but yeah, I'm not missing all the Ellington in 2025, but what can you do?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, some other things you're mentioning, Mark, as a diver, and he comes onto this mission and or this heist. I guess we'll call it a heist. And I
Hmm.
was like, I guess this is like if Indiana Jones was just like, oh, okay, I'll go along with Donovan and and
Yeah.
Last Crusade or whatever. Like, let's just go with the scary German guy and do what he wants. Like
Yeah.
this movie does have a certain like. Frank does seem like he's definitely on the wrong side of the law. By the way, they're all going to die
Yeah.
at the end of this movie. They're in the middle of the ocean on a freaking rubber raft.
I know. We don't really know
The
how
end.
far out. Yeah, we don't really know how far out they are from anything, you know? So, and they say we're going to paddle towards South America. Oh my God, it's a long way.
I think they're having
Yeah.
gallows humor for their impending death there, because
Yeah.
I'm like, these people they did not escape. They are stuck in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, Vic bites it on the Queen Mary. Sub Commander bites it on the U-boat, and then we're just left with Mark, Rosa, Vernalisi, and our other guy, who, by the way, you pick up that hot racist moment, him being called the caramel-colored lush.
Oh no, I didn't catch that actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right. Well, and of course, Tony died on board the sub, accidentally being shot by the German commander. But that whole setup made me wonder. Like, okay, this came out in 1966. Most of our characters, they say, are World War II veterans. Like they knew what was going on. And you know, sub commander, and then I I kept asking myself, like, is that a realistic thing? Did an American and a German run into each other 20 years after the war? Like, oh, you were in you served on a submarine. Oh, yeah, and you were a U-boat commander who probably shot at our ships. Like, was it that casual of a thing that they could just sort of like, oh, yeah, that happened 20 years ago. That was our job back then, but
Well,
not anymore.
I am thinking about how like bikers and stuff would, use the swastika just to piss people off. Go look at the movie The Wild Angels, Peter Fonda,
Yeah,
Bruce Dern or
yeah,
whatever. And they're not Nazis. They're just using the imagery to piss people off, which I guess you could still do in the mid 60s because now it's just like
yeah.
if you want to throw that out there, you're making like everyone's like you are making a statement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But our submarine commander here, he very casually uses that Nazi flag to drape over the bones of the remains of the U-boat commander who was there, who went down with the ship. But there's a little bit of tension, but they all kind of get
Yeah.
along.
It's like,
And then,
are we more triggered for it now? Like, I take a walk in the morning. Actually, I took it right before this podcast, and I go by this
yeah,
in Japan, of course, the swastika going the other way is a temple symbol, but
Right.
there's this graveyard with like a metal gate, and the metal gate is somewhat rusted, so it looks a little
Uh,
red, and it's got the reverse swastika. And every time I walk by, I'm like, "Whoa!"
wow. Wow. Interesting.
It like it
Interesting.
like it was supposed to just be like chrome or whatever, but it's out in the
Yeah.
elements, and now it has kind of turned red,
Yeah.
and it always gets
No,
my attention.
I think we are a little triggered by that now. Maybe more so because maybe somebody who is Sinatra's age when this came out, because he would have been pushing 50, right? Like mid
That
40s, I
sounds
think.
about right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Somebody who was the same age who served during the war probably thought like, okay, that's history now. And at the end of the day, those are people on the other side. Now, it is a movie. You still make the U-boat commander a bit of a villain, and he is so ready to torpedo anything in his path. That is the only way that he knows to solve his problems once he is back on board a
Well,
submarine.
when Sinatra is like, "What? We have torpedoes on board?" But come on, it's a submarine. Who would have a submarine without torpedoes?
Right, right. Yeah, come on.
But
Exactly.
but what are we shooting? I did just start having thoughts there, like, oh, what are they going to shoot? Are they going to put a
Yeah.
bunch of garbage in there, shoot a garbage torpedo? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know there's some things that have gotten weird with what you shoot out, but yeah, it is kind of weird that our protagonists in this movie are pretty clearly on the villainous side,
Oh yeah, I mean they just decide at some point like, hey, we're all going to be pirates.
yeah.
And there's no indication up until that point that they are just okay with breaking a multitude of laws, and this is how they're going to make their living. You know?
I mean, that does put this back in the Ocean's 11 thing. Weren't those all
Yeah.
like his army guys from World War II, and we're gonna
Yeah.
go hold up the casino, right? Um,
Yep.
I mean, I'll just come out that I've seen the newer one. Um, hold on there.
The Soderbergh Ocean's 11.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to edit that. I'm going to tell the audience I just smushed a weird gachapon egg onto my hand and had to go
I
clean
think you
myself
should.
up. Yeah. So,
If only they could have caught the visual as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, on YouTube, they might have gotten a bit of it. So,
Yeah, there we go.
happening.
Yeah.
Uh, oh yeah, I was talking Soderbergh Ocean's 11, which is an
Yeah.
infinitely better movie than the old one. The
Oh,
old,
yeah. No, no, no. Soderbergh's Ocean's 11 is great. The original Ocean's 11, you can only get through if
drinking
you're
martinis.
just there. Yeah. Yeah, you're several martinis into it and you're just there to see Frank and Sammy and Dean, and it is not a good movie.
I think I mentioned
No.
to you before, about 20 years ago, they put out, it was a CD, DVD set of like the only actual full Rat Pack performances, like on tape, like where everybody was there. And there's a
Oh
video.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then on the second one, which is great. I think Joey Bishop's not there, but if you're going to be missing one, yes, that's the one to be missing, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
the rest of them are
Exactly.
there and singing. They sing together, and I'm just like, anytime I might get the urge for an Ocean's 11 vibe, I'll just put that on. That I love that
Yeah.
too, because that's where I become most confused about Dean Martin's shtick, because he comes out like kind of like like he's a lush or whatever,
Yeah.
an olive colored lush, and then
Uh-huh.
goes to make a bow, and just beans himself on the head, and looks after that he has this look on his face like, oh, like, I'm like, is it an act?
Right.
Or is he just that good? Because he
Yeah,
notorious
no.
for the Dean Martin show. The director
Yep.
of this apparently directed that. He would just show up for the day of recording and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
was it. And that was part of his deal, part of his contract is he kept when they approached him to do that show, uh, he he didn't want to do it. So he just kept making these increasingly bizarre demands, hoping that they would back off, right? So one of those demands was that he doesn't have to rehearse, and he would get a huge amount of money, and he would get all these amenities, and they agreed. They said sure. So apparently, what he would do is he would the rest of the cast and crew, they would rehearse during the week. He would come in like day of in his dressing room, watch it on closed circuit, what they were doing, and then go out and do the show for the actual taping. But apparently he was so good that he could get away with that. So like there'd be a dance sequence, right? And here he is, so he's watching it on TV. So he's watching the mirror image, right? But then he'd go out and he'd do the steps, he'd do the choreography, he'd do the bit because he had it in his head, you know. This is pretty remarkable. There was a documentary about him not that long ago that I think his daughter Dina was a big part of. Maybe she produced it. And there is a story about how after he and Jerry Lewis broke up, that he didn't have an act. He didn't have direction. You know, what am I an actor? Am I a singer? What do I do? And Frank Sinatra owned the Cal Neva at the time in Tahoe and said, look, you can have the space. So just you develop your act and you can come here and do your act in my theater. So he agreed. And the first night he was there, this is being recounted by somebody who was a waiter or a busboy or something in the audience or in the theater. And the first night he was there, he kept like dropping lines. He kept screwing up. He'd stop and he'd start over, you know, but it was hilarious. And the audience loved it because it was so natural. And he would just like, oh, I'm going to start this over again. He'd stop and tell a joke. He'd lose his train of thought. He'd come back to it, whatever. Audience loved it. They ate it up. The next night, same busboy waiter is in the audience and he does the exact same act with the exact same missing the cues, exact same starting over, exact same losing his train of thought. So he was that precise that every one of those bits, it just seems like, oh, it's your drunk uncle, you know, kind of tripping over his words, whatever, that was planned down to the second.
Oh, so he meant to bonk his head. Okay.
yeah. That's part of what made him a genius, you know?
Now, I guess bringing it back to a little bit more on topic. I'm thinking,
oh, wait. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about Attack on a Queen.
No, I was going to say, I don't know much about the Frank Sinatra show. I feel like the Dean Martin show made much more of an impact than the Frank Sinatra show.
It did.
Despite
it did.
Sinatra technically being the bigger. I mean, they're both pretty big stars, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you think, I mean, but Frank Sinatra, like, okay, here's a good example. He's so good in this movie because he is just effortlessly cool, right? That's great in a, you know, just short of 2 hour movie. But if you're expecting that to be the thing that comes into your house for an hour every week, does that really sustain itself? Because Dino had this very approachable, affable, like he's a little goofy, and the screw ups are part of the thing that make him relatable. Frank Sinatra, there's very little about him or about Bataille in this movie that is relatable. You know, he's just cool. You might want to be like him, but it's not really relatable.
I guess that's why he never got the Humphrey Bogart show. You know, that's someone that just would not have been able to.
yeah.
Weird alien creation of cool, and you got your drunk uncle. So yeah, drunk uncle works better on weekly television, I guess. But,
right.
But then again, I guess that's why Sinatra tends to pop a little more in movies, you know, because you can sustain that in this case. Let's see. We did the music. We did the underwater scenes, getting there.
Yeah. Again, very good. You know, I think the model work here is quite good. You know, shades of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea on its best days, and again, also shot at Fox. Yeah.
Yeah. Did Sinatra steal the captain's hat from the dead commander?
I wondered about that. Yeah, I was. Well, of course, they are trying to pose as Royal Navy, but they're wearing American uniforms, and I guess he's got a German hat. None of that makes sense at all.
I mean, in modern times, if someone shows up in a weird mishmash of several countries' uniforms, that's a red flag there.
That's a big sign. Yeah, you can't just pass that off as being Canadian. Oh yeah, we're Canadian. That's what we do.
I have been trying to put questions on these movies, similar to how I was doing with the Twilight Zone. Some of them make some sense. This one doesn't, I think.
Yeah.
Like we just did 7 Days in May. That's practically is an extended Twilight Zone episode, you know?
Right.
This one, it's like a Mission Impossible, more like. So
yeah.
Which it's kind of cool watching Rod, you know, at least adapt a screenplay in this vein. I will say for this movie, though, the dialogue doesn't crack like some of the other ones. I don't know what was up with that.
No. And I feel like not only does the dialogue not crack, but I also feel like the characters are a bit they're a bit ill-defined. I mean, we know who these people are. We know the roles that they play here, but there's not a whole lot of depth. There's not a whole lot of memorable for the characters individually, other than just like, oh, okay, well, here's the guy with kooky idea. He's gonna bite it. Here's the German submarine commander. Yeah, he's gonna bite it.
Because
There's
the other
Frank
Serling
Sinatra. He's
movies we've done,
cool.
yeah, he doesn't. Well,
Yeah.
he's gonna bite it too in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Right.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, the other Serlings that we've done, especially the ones that like were popped more, seem
Yeah.
to depend on verbal pyrotechnics for their climax. 7 Days of
Yeah.
May, we confront the president, right?
Yeah.
In Requiem for a Heavyweight, you got Anthony
Requiem for a
Quinn
Heavyweight.
ripping it out.
Yeah.
Patterns in
Yeah.
Iraq, you spend the first half of the movie being like, oh, is this dull? And then the second half, these verbal
Yeah.
pyrotechnics kick in. And I thought it was weird that this movie had a lot going for it, but it didn't have that, which seemed to be sort of the ace in his pocket for the other ones that were good.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Saddle the Wind and Instant in an Alley are the other ones we covered, and those were lacking it too. And those movies were just kind of dull.
Yeah.
This
Right.
I would say is better than those. This is a very watchable movie, especially for all the you know the mid-century styles and
Oh
just
yeah.
charm, you know.
Yeah.
So this I guess this is middle tier as far as the Serling movies we've been looking at. But it was really interesting that this did not have kind of his ace in the hole on display.
No, exactly. Exactly. By the way, you're speaking about design, and yeah, there's a lot of great costumes. I love the bar that's kind of their hangout, you know, so we see a
Oh,
lot of there's a
that made
lot
me
of
think of
scenes.
Mission Impossible. That's like being
Yes.
in the apartment or whatever.
Well, yeah, the bar is a great hang up at that apartment, that living room where they kind of lay out the heist plan. Um, that was not the best. It was not the best example of that kind of scene, but it was a very good version of that kind of scene. And I love the set because, you know, you have the big kind of yellow couch in the middle, you got the kind of built-in bar off to the side. Everybody looks exactly like they belong in that room. It's nice stuff.
So I guess I'm going to change my question a little bit. Instead of saying who went through the Twilight Zone, because nobody went through the Twilight Zone. This did they do a proper Mission Impossible style mission in this movie? No, they
Mm,
don't die on the TV show, so I guess they screwed up here.
right, right. It is it is a more audacious plan than Ocean's 11. It is almost as audacious a plan as a Mission Impossible story. They could have done better by, you know, more attention to detail with the costumes and
Martin
passing
Landau would
themselves.
have nailed the you know,
That's the
I am
thing.
a British officer because he's the
He would
actor,
have,
right?
yeah, he would have had the accent down, maybe do a little makeup situation, you know. Uh, so it's not quite that level, but it's awfully close.
Yeah, but
Because
IMF's
it,
not going to recruit these people.
no, God, no. Because here's the thing, they all bicker with each other, and I just have to say, kind of like Vernalisi is like my dream woman. I mean, just she's so gorgeous and cool and icy and untouchable, you know.
There's some
But
product in her hair.
yeah, exactly. Like just always looks amazing, right? Uh, but they do a really, I don't know, is it a good job or a bad job that everybody bickers with each other and then they have this sort of quasi romantic relationship that you're supposed to buy, but I just don't because I don't. When she comes in first with Vic, I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't really get why they're together, but then I don't get why they're not together. Like it seems like you're just supposed to expect that she ends up with Frank Sinatra because he's Frank Sinatra. And he's just by definition cooler than the other guy. But really, there are no stakes in it for me at all. You know?
I really did wonder if, and I'll explain a little more just because I was watching rewatching another film that has this going on.
Mm.
But I was wondering if she was acting phonetically in this movie because that happens
I,
more than you
yeah.
think, right? Like
Yes.
she might not
Yes.
know because I was rewatching No Country for Old Men where Javier Bardem was acting phonetically. He did not have command of English when he did that movie, and he doesn't have a ton of dialogue, but
Right.
part of what works in that movie is the fact that he's giving it slightly unnaturally, gives it an edge there. We're here,
Yeah,
it makes
yeah, yeah.
human relationships less believable with her and Frank, but
I don't care though. I'm here for it. She's got an accent and she is slightly unnatural. So yes, that seems to be my type.
oh, for 60s on, you knew we were dead on here, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
like, I was thinking bit what's basically a masterful performance in No Country. You're doing basically the same thing, and here it's just 60s cool. It's not
Yeah.
you're not giving her an Oscar for this.
No, 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 no.
Uh,
Only in my heart.
Oscar of your heart. Yes, we can do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I would say there's no. Well, you almost could tripometer this with a few of those underwater scenes, but maybe we should adapt this for the heist-o-meter since it's so Mission Impossible.
Ooh.
How do you rate
Yeah,
the
yeah.
heist on a scale of 0 to 5?
It honestly, it is all right. So they don't really succeed, but they almost succeed. Like if they had taken 5 seconds more just to take some of that stuff out of the lifeboat, throw it in the sub,
If Vic didn't
then
need that frickin' diamond ring,
yeah, come on, Vic, idiot. Um, it's like a 4.5 as far as just the audacity, the execution. It's right up there with incredibly strange, audacious heist movies, heist concepts. Definitely better though than the original Ocean's 11. Clearly not as slick as the remake Ocean's 11. Um, but I'm enjoying this ride, you know?
yeah, I think I'm going to take a point off from yours just because they're idiots and give them a
Yeah,
3. So
that's fair.
too
That's fair.
audacious for their skill set.
Yeah, yeah. By the
Um,
way, let me point out some things though that could have been uh, different. Well, all right. First of all, I love the idea that it's that easy to go get a submarine, that it can be on the bottom of the ocean floor for 20 years, and then they raise it, restore it, and it's good to go. And I kept thinking, isn't there anybody around who notices a submarine going in and out of their little, they built the little boathouse for it so they could work on it. That just seems like a thing that would get noticed. Um, and as far as the Queen Mary goes, okay, it was funny to me that our radio operator kept saying like, this is top secret. We can only talk to this is so secret. We're on a secret mission. Like that is not how you transmit that you're on a secret mission. Is just by constantly saying that this is a secret. And then I thought, now here's the other thing: when they launched that torpedo, that should be good indication for the Queen Mary to just get out of there. Again, huge ship, tons of crew. Um,
Tons of passengers.
Tons of passengers, but here's the thing: like when we got that last shot of we have the Coast Guard ship ramming the submarine. You could do that, and in fact, one of Queen Mary's generational predecessors, the RMS Olympic, that was the White Star, sister of the Titanic, did that during World War One. Spotted a U-boat, captain turned it around, aimed for that, boom, destroyed it.
You're a
You
Star
know?
Trekker. I'm sure you heard ramming speed in your head when that happens.
Yeah, right, right, right. So the Queen Mary definitely has the advantage over a.
Oh, when they're under it and they bonk it a bit, I'm like, did they
I
just rip
know.
off what do you call the top part of a submarine? I was like, did that just knock that thing
Yeah, the
off?
the
Because that would
tower,
have
the conning tower,
the
right?
tower. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
that's got to be bad news if you're bumping up against a boat like that
yeah.
with a
And
sub.
a- and actually good shots of the sub underneath and just the belly of the Queen Mary, and you see the four screws spin up. Good model work, and yeah, that was all cool. And I have to say they built the tension through the heist stuff pretty well. And a lot of those rooms that you saw on board. So we see the wheelhouse, we see a little bit of sun deck. Although not quite. They play fast and loose with whether it's sun deck or sports deck, but whatever. The room where they're keeping the gold and all the cash, even though that is a part of the ship that very few passengers would have ever seen, that is exactly what the real one looks like on the Queen Mary and even the Midland Bank. That exact space is now a gift shop on A deck. So when you walk into the Queen Mary now, you walk in on A deck, and on your left is the purser's desk where you check in, but immediately to your right is the shop that was the Midlands Bank. So they recreated all this stuff perfectly. And when they come in on our deck and you see the elevators and that kind of very Art Deco silver handrail and everything where they first go up in the lift, that's what it looks like. And in fact, it looked better in the movie than it does now because now they've, there's carpet and other stuff that wouldn't have been there at the time. They did a great job of recreating the linoleum floors and just like if you had been a passenger on the Queen Mary in 1966 and you saw this movie, you may not have thought that they had actually shot on board, but you would have said like, yeah, that's what it looks like,
See, I let my brain get theme parks messed up by Disney Sea on that as well, and that I've been on their Columbia a few times,
Right. But okay, but isn't the interior of Columbia, isn't that dated a little earlier? Isn't that more
Yeah,
like
they got the Teddy
Aquitania,
Roosevelt Lounge.
Mauritania?
That's going
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
1900. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so it was like Edwardian kind of more like Lusitania. Yeah, Lusitania, Aquitania, that period.
that's the vibe they're going for. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
but that is one thing when we do see the actual Queen Mary in this, and I see the size of that thing, I'm like, whoa,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
on film in this, having recently compared it with this theme park boat, I'm like, oh my God, the Queen Mary
Right.
is massive. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean it's giant. I mean, and it is a little deceiving because modern ships sit so high and they're so bulky. But like I said, the original Queen Mary still over 80,000 tons, still over 1,000 feet long, still holds over held over 2,000 passengers and over 1,000 crew. So you're talking about something that is it is every bit as capable, but it was built at a time to make that a little more lean, So she sat a little lower in the water, and again, it's all about just force to go as fast as you could. So that's why it was Churchill's favorite ship. She was twice as fast as a German torpedo. You
And
know.
yours, is it your favorite ship?
You know what? It is because it's so accessible. I'm going to be staying on board next week, actually. Actually, in 2 weeks, I'm going to go down there for a night. And it's kind of a social hub for me. I got a lot of friends who are there, but I think that one of the most interesting ships, and it's one of those things that since you can't touch it and you can't go there, it's always a little bigger and better in your imagination, and that's the Normandy. So the immediate predecessor from the French line that was the competitor for the Queen Mary. The Normandy was a little bit bigger, and I think had it not burned in New York Harbor, had it successfully converted to a troop ship and made it through World War II, I think Normandy would have beat the Queen Mary again for the speed records because she was so technologically advanced that they could have kept tweaking that over the years. But
No,
yeah,
that's what happens when you survive up to 2025 as a ship, I guess. You
yeah,
come
yeah,
out on
yeah.
top.
Exactly. Yeah, but Queen Mary is special, and that right there, that is an invitation for anybody who comes to Southern California, yourself included. Meet me at the observation bar at the Queen Mary.
The hell yeah.
So we'll go there.
I guess we'll wind this one down for the day. If you want to tell folks about what you are up to.
Yeah, man, we are quickly approaching the end of Star Trek Voyager. I can't believe it. I'm a little misty about that. Tomorrow we are recording episode 20 out of 26 on our way to the finale of season 7 of Voyager. And then I'm going to take a little break after that, so that'll take us through almost the end of November. And then we're going to take some time off, and we're going to have some retrospective episodes, some special guests, and that'll be fun. And then, a few months after that, we'll roll around to Enterprise. So, yeah, big changes coming with Mission Log.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to Enterprise. It's been a few years.
Yeah, yeah, it has for me too. And that was one that I watched. Not all of it. I watched seasons 3 and 4 in real time, and then went back and rewatched the rest of it, and really liked it. And I'm curious to see if it holds up for me.
Uh, as we're here, we do a bunch of podcasting at podcastius.org. Other than Time Enough Podcast, we do Films and Filth, where we talk about where it's supposed to be really good or really bad films. You're about to show up for Cinema Paradiso, which I have not seen actually, so it'll
Oh,
be my first time.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
I was rambling a bit about Disney here. I do it more over the Occult Disney podcast where we get weird on Disney movies. A fan of most of them, but we did have to watch Romeo and Juliet too, and that was not a good movie.
Oh, okay.
So go dig that over there. Um, as for then, yeah, see you on board or in the middle of the ocean on a dinghy where you're gonna die.
Is that all?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to cut that there.